What if we had nothing? Say we were starting over, would we start over? Well, let's pour out some gold. We'll peel it back to the big questions. Was it worth it? And would we do it again? Okay, so I don't even know how the desk's going to look after this mess. Probably chaotic. I'd like to split up physical holdings, and I'm losing one of those locations. So I have a lot of this gold in one place, and I figured might as well pour it all out on the desk at once. So the topic for this one is 16 years of buying gold. Was it worth it? Would I do it again if I was starting out right now with today's high prices? What would I do differently, maybe? Starting guide, we'll call it, Omnibus Edition. Now, I suppose this would be a starting guide during a big rally. And that's different than the environment was when I came in, or not. I guess it just depends on how you compare the charts, because we know what happened from 2008 to 2011, the big run up. But it's important to mention that, hey, I sat out most of 2011 through 2013. That was before putting together a plan again to get back in late 2013. And if you were to look at this pile, you kind of see all of the things, the set plans, the win buys, some wins, some, questionable decisions, a little bit of everything. And well, we're going to sort it all out, try to make sense of it all without the doom, without the gloom, or any of the made-up forecasts, any of the strange stuff that gets slathered on top of a topic that should be pretty straightforward. It's just saving money in a more compelling way. Before we get into it, though, let me give a quick shout out to channel sponsors Summit Metals. If you're looking for gold or silver, hey, they have both. They have great prices, great people, and fast shipping, which is important, so check them out at summitmetals.com. This right here is making me a little nervous. I didn't think this through. Putting metal containers on top of your numismatic gold coins, probably not something we'll be recommending in this video. So let's kick this off with some numbers. My first purchase of gold was in 2008 when spot price was somewhere around $880. I bought a gold maple leaf for $930. Now we'll come back to these numbers, but I bought a few more. I bought a fair amount of silver, and then I tapped out in 2011. Gold price had run up to $1,920. I got out before then. Now, that would have more than doubled my first purchase. I was out quite a bit before then because just seeing everything double, everything felt really expensive. Now, all of my buying leading up to that high was sporadic. It was based on me having available cash, and the reason that I was interested in it in the first place was that I was a new father, and some of the other assets that I was working on were wrecked. It was a tough time, of course, for real estate and a few other classes, so I was just looking for something that would be stable. Okay, I'm going to keep my personal stories light here. You don't really care about that part, but it's context that maybe you can compare to your own situation, so I'll just give you a little bit. Now, prior to 2013, I kept any gold or silver that I had in my home. Now, that had a giant safe, so it was easy to drop some coins in some capsules, put those capsules in a box, and just store them in the safe. Now, I had eagles, maple leafs, and a few random Series 1 lunar gold coins from the Perth Mint. And because we're going to get into what I think makes sense and maybe what doesn't, I also had a side fling with 20 francs roosters. I actually picked up a lot of them. We're going to come back to that. Now you can kind of see here that I think I'm gold a few different ways. I have what's in the display case here, and if we're calling out do's and don'ts, I guess I'm conflicted with these. Buying series coins, well, that's a great way to keep you interested in gold as a hobby, but there are some downsides as well. Now, I've been compelled to buy some of these coins instead of other things like toys that would have depreciated, so that's good. Now, most of these coins, they've appreciated beyond the gains in gold price alone, also good, but I don't see them as simple savings. I can't sell that Dragon versus Tiger without breaking up my complete Perth Mint Chinese Myths and Legends series. And it's a bias that's just better not to have. So if you're just getting started, I would say these are not the coins to buy. Now, another way that I think of gold is as a backup. You've maybe heard me say that when the price of gold dropped dramatically in 2013, it was 34% drop to $12.50. I decided to start buying monthly. Now, I'd been going through my expenses and I was able to clear up about $400 a month. Basically, that was wasted money going to subscriptions, to some discretionary purchases. And at the time, I could buy a quarter ounce American Gold Eagle and a little bit of silver with that. So that was my monthly buy. Now, I think of all of the things that I've done with gold over the years, that was the decision I'd be most likely to do again. Now, at the time, I was doing well, but I had a lot of expenses and I had swings in income. So I needed a way to bring down my overall stress. Now, saving is how I went at it, and I was not very good at it. So gold helped that because I guess I was able to trick my brain a little bit, get some endorphins from shiny coins rather than just, I don't know, fast motorcycles. So if I was starting today, I would carve out a budget for a monthly purchase and I would buy the most popular coin in my region as long as premiums allowed it. Now today, fractional eagles can be expensive, so I would also consider gold maple leafs and Britannias as second choices. Now, just to give some perspective on the idea that scheduled buys add up over time, those quarter ounce eagles added up to about 3 ounces of gold a year. Not about, exactly. So I did that for 7 years, and that's 21 ounces of gold that I saved up with money I was otherwise wasting. Now, there are just over 21 ounces of eagles back there if you want to know what that looks like. That's the result of a habit I built that didn't require any additional capital. So let's zoom out for a minute. You can see there's more on the desk than 21 ounces of gold. I've also worked to do a few other things to add to the stack. And one is that I've tried to roll gains into gold when it was the result of some kind of long shot. So I wasn't pulling anything from retirement or brokerage accounts, but I had some crypto wins, I had some passive income, things like that. When I had a minor windfall, I would hold on to it for gold purchases. And then anytime it felt like we had some kind of big pullback in price, I would make larger purchases. So if we look at gold versus the S&P 500, we're going to see that S&P wins unless maybe we cherry pick timeframes, say like the last 12 months. Now, I don't show this to say that I compare gold or silver to the equity markets. I'm actually doing the opposite here. I didn't take investment capital to make any of these gold purchases. I continued to invest throughout the past 16 years. Gold has not taken away from that. Now, once you get into gold, and maybe even before it, you're going to hear all of these wild claims about what it could do, how it could explode in value, how it's the only real money and everything else is debt, toilet paper, some other extreme position or promise. All of this is meant to convince you to go all in. Now, I mentioned a 6 to 7x forecast from a well-known personality in the gold space in my last video. The headline from that interview was something like gold to 20 to 50x, and it was exaggerated from what the person said, but it doesn't matter. The whole idea was hinged on some kind of cataclysm, the kind of stories that require a certain level of suspension of disbelief. And that kind of story is so pervasive that it's going to get into your head little by little. So one thing that I've learned in my 16 years is that the only constant in those kind of stories is that there are going to be crazy people telling you crazy things, predicting crazy events with crazy price swings. Crazy price swings that never happen. So I would just say, don't think of gold or silver as a lottery ticket. Now, there are really two big questions here. The first is whether I think it was worth it. Was it worth buying gold over the past 16 years? And the other is, would I do it again? Now, the first question, it's easy. It was definitely worth it for me. Some of this gold was accumulated easily. Some of it required some discipline. And I would say maybe even a small part of it was some kind of choice between other things, speculative things. Now, I don't think any of it prevented me from investing, though. In the case of silver, selling a monster box of silver is actually what got me in on a wild gamble. I'm talking about Bitcoin here without actually talking about Bitcoin. But that part of it, the whole question of whether I think it was worth it, was easy because there was really no downside in my gold purchases. Would I do it again? Well, the only reason this question is more complicated is because I'm 16 years older now. I have different savings needs, and also because the market has ridden a rally into all-time high territory. So it's more expensive in relative terms than it was in late 2008 or late 2013. But all that said, that wouldn't change anything for me. There are definitely new reasons to be stacking. The entire world is different, but just looking at the logistics, I would do the same thing as I did in 2013. I would schedule a monthly purchase and I would pick what I could afford without stealing investment capital. Now, what I'd buy would be the same too. I would choose from only the most popular options, so American Gold Eagles, Buffaloes, Gold Maple Leafs maybe Britannias. That would be my base. So earlier I told you the spot price of gold was $880 when I bought my first gold coin. I think that's important. Last week gold hit $2,700. So simply looking at the growth of the past 16 years, it's a pretty good indicator. I could have saved cash. I could have bought bonds and bills, relied solely on money market accounts or high yield savings, and none of them would have come close to that kind of return. There are a few things I skipped across here. I sold gold twice over the years to get a jump on down payments for real estate. I mentioned selling silver to jump in on Bitcoin and ETH. So it has been traditional savings for me. It's been opportunity capital, and it's been a little bit of an emergency backup. Call it SHTF insurance, but it has never been any kind of burden or any kind of decision I wished I hadn't made. So there you go. If you're kicking around the rationale of this stuff, maybe it gives you one more thing to consider. Hopefully it does. I wanted to make this video just to strip out all the hype because it's really hard to find objective perspective on the topic of gold sometimes. There's just too many crazy stories telling us the end is near. Just get your gold, get your silver quick before it's all gone, before it's too late. Maybe we need a detox sometime. So that's what I'm doing here. Just saying that this stuff makes sense, even though it hasn't gone up in 6 or 7x multiples. The dollar hasn't died. The government hasn't gotten us yet. This has just simply been a really good way to save for me. A way to create a backup, a way to diversify, and a way to keep things interesting. Interesting even without the crazy hype. Okay, let's call it good there. I obviously have some cleanup to do here. I'm splitting this back up. I'm sending it off to safes in different states, and maybe that's even a topic for the near future. Let me know if storage is interesting, but more importantly, let us know what you're up to. Let us know in the comments how long you've been at this. I know there were some of you buying in the 80s. Have to imagine you have some tips, so let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to hear more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.